Try picturing spring without tractors, seed drills, or even a basic garden hose. Sounds tough, right? But for the Amish, it's just how they do things, year after year with zero machines, no engines, no fuel, just horses, hand tools, and old wisdom passed down like a secret recipe. While most people rush to buy the latest gardening gadgets, the Amish are out there growing full crops with nothing but muscle, timing, and trust in the land. They don't just plant, they work with nature in a way that makes their spring harvests feel almost magical. And that's where it gets interesting. Because while most people think farming is just about dirt and seeds, the Amish treat it like a partnership with the earth, the weather, and something way up above. They don't just dig and hope. Every move they make has meaning, and timing is everything. Before a single shovel hits the soil, many Amish farmers look to the sky, not to check the weather, but to study the moon. Sounds old-fashioned, right? But this isn't guesswork. It's a trusted system that's been used for generations. And the more you see it in action, the more you realize it's not superstition. It's science wrapped in tradition. Now let's talk about one of their most powerful springtime secrets: moon-guided soil-turning rituals. It's early morning and the field is quiet. There's no engine rumble, no buzzing machines, just the sound of hooves, the creak of leather harnesses, and the steady breath of a farmer leading his team. Before that soil gets turned over, something has already been checked. Not a forecast, not a calendar, but the moon. The Amish believe that certain moon phases can help bring water closer to the surface. When the moon is waxing, growing from new to full, it's thought to pull groundwater upward, kind of like how it moves ocean tides. And that's huge for early spring crops. Seeds need moisture to wake up, to sprout, to grow. So when the soil is turned during a waxing moon, the moisture is closer to the top, right where the seeds will be. It's like giving your garden a secret boost without lifting an extra finger. This isn't just a nice idea. They've been tracking it for years. In many Amish homes, there's a pocket almanac worn soft with use. It's filled with moon charts, planting tips, and tiny notes scribbled in the margins. Some families even mark their barn walls or calendars with charcoal, circling the best days for turning earth. It's quiet, simple, and deeply precise. There's no app, no alerts, just a rhythm they've learned from living close to the land. I remember the first time I saw this in action. I was visiting an Amish neighbor in late March, just as the frost was starting to lift. He pulled out a little book, dog-eared and held together with tape. "Tomorrow's the day," he said, tapping a tiny moon symbol. The sky looked cloudy to me, and the forecast wasn't promising. But sure enough, the next morning, he was out there turning rows of soil, calm as ever. A week later, his seedlings were already poking through, while mine were still stuck under wet clumps. That's when I realized there's a reason they trust the moon more than the weatherman. But it's not just about the pull of water. The moon also sets the pace for other tasks. When it's waning, shrinking from full to new, it's the time to prune or pull back. The energy is seen as moving downward, into the roots. That's when you cut, dig, and compost. When it's waxing, everything rises. So that's when you plant, feed, and encourage upward growth. It sounds poetic, but it works. It's a natural clock, and the Amish read it better than anyone. Even soil turning itself is different when it's done this way. There's no giant tractor slicing deep into the earth. Instead, horses pull simple plows, often ones that have been passed down through families. These tools don't tear up the ground, they gently lift and roll it. The goal isn't just to flip dirt, it's to aerate, to warm, to prepare. And with the right timing, the soil becomes soft and alive, ready to hold a seed like it's something sacred. There's also a spiritual side to it. Many Amish see soil turning during a waxing moon as a way of aligning with God's design. It's not just farming, it's obedience. It's humility. It's accepting that the earth knows what it needs, and that the moon, silent and steady, is part of that voice. They believe you don't rush the land, you work with it, you listen, you follow the signs. And this isn't just for the big fields. Even backyard gardens follow these rituals. I once helped an Amish friend's daughter plant beans in her tiny family plot. She looked up at the moon the night before, nodded, and said, "Tomorrow, we press the soil." I asked why not today, since the weather was perfect. She smiled and said, "The moon's not ready yet." Sure enough, when we did plant the next morning, the ground felt just right, soft, warm, and full of promise. It's funny, isn't it? Most people think growing food is all about sunlight, but for the Amish, moonlight plays just as big a role. It's quiet light, gentle, but it carries power. The kind of power that brings life up from the ground and reminds us that not everything good has to be loud or fast. So when spring rolls in and fields across the country buzz with machines and schedules, the Amish wait, they watch, they trust, because they know that when the moon is waxing and the ground is whispering yes, that's when the season truly begins. Once the soil is turned, warmed, and ready, there's no rush to toss seeds in at random. That's not how the Amish work. For them, every step has purpose. Every motion has meaning. Now that the ground has been gently opened under the guidance of the moon, it's time for precision, time to shape the rows where the future will grow. And believe it or not, that next step doesn't involve any machines either. No engine, no drill, no metal blade buzzing through the dirt. Just hands, wood, and generations of quiet skill. This is where hand-scored furrows come in, grooves made not by gears, but by groove makers. These are simple, wooden tools, carved by hand and shaped for one job, to pull perfect lines in the earth. Some of these tools are made from tough old woods like hickory or walnut, strong enough to last years, sometimes even passed down through families. There are no moving parts, no wires, no levers, just handles, teeth, and the steady pull of someone who knows how to guide it. The groove maker is dragged slowly across the soil. It's not forced, it glides. The teeth at the bottom carve shallow channels, evenly spaced and consistent. It almost looks like someone dragged their fingers through a sandbox. Smooth, clean, deliberate. These furrows are the beds where the seeds will rest, and because they're made with care, the spacing is just right. Not too close, not too far. Just enough room for each seed to stretch, grow, and share space with its neighbors. But the real magic of this method isn't just how neat the rows look. It's what it doesn't do to the soil. See, machines dig deep. They churn, they slice, they rip. That might be fast, but it also tears apart something the Amish care deeply about, the life inside the dirt. Down there in that soil are tiny living things, microbes, fungi, bacteria, all playing their part in helping seeds grow. These living helpers form a kind of underground support team. When you tear up the ground too hard, you break that team apart. But when you drag a wooden groove maker gently across the top, you leave that life mostly untouched. That's the goal, to plant without disturbing, to shape without destroying. This method of furrowing is slow, yes, but it's smart. It allows the soil to stay healthy while still giving seeds the best possible start. And because the earth stays stable underneath, roots can grow down through layers that haven't been broken or compacted by heavy equipment. Another quiet benefit of using groove makers is consistency. Every groove is the same depth, the same width, the same distance apart. That might sound like a small detail, but it matters. Seeds that are spaced evenly grow evenly. That means no weak spots in the crop, no overcrowded sections fighting for water and light. Everything grows in rhythm, just like it was planned. And this isn't just a one-size-fits-all system. Different crops need different kinds of furrows. The Amish adjust the number of teeth on the groove maker, the spacing, and even the depth based on what they're planting. Carrots, radishes, peas, they all get their own treatment. Some tools are wide, for larger seeds. Others are narrow, perfect for tight rows of herbs or greens. It's not high-tech, but it's high skill. Every tool is built for its task. Every motion serves a purpose. These groove makers also work well with the natural structure of the soil. Since the land was turned gently earlier, it's soft and ready. Dragging the groove maker doesn't collapse the structure or pack it down. It just opens the top layer, letting air in and giving roots room to move. The lines drawn by these tools help rainwater reach the seeds too. Water flows right into the grooves instead of running off or pooling in random spots. It's like drawing little canals across the field, tiny waterways that feed life from the ground up. What's powerful about this process is that it's done with such quiet focus. There's no rush, no engine noise, just steady movement across the rows, one line at a time. It's almost meditative, a back-and-forth dance with the land. You can picture it, early morning light, a farmer walking slow across the field, pulling the groove maker behind them, the soil parting in soft lines under their feet. And even though it's quiet work, it's not easy. It takes strength to pull those tools. It takes practice to keep the lines straight, and it takes patience to finish the whole field without switching to something faster. But the Amish believe the results are worth it. Healthy soil, balanced crops, a field that grows in harmony, not in chaos. Once the furrows are done, the field is ready. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's perfect. A grid of grooves, each one ready to hold a seed and a future harvest. This is what planting looks like when machines are left behind. Not messy, not random, just hands, wood, and wisdom, working quietly with the land. Once the furrows are scored and the soil is lined like rows in a book, the next step is just as important, getting the seeds into the ground exactly where they belong. But here's the twist. There's no pushing buttons, no roaring machines, and definitely no GPS-guided tractors out here. Just wood, wheels, horses, and smart thinking. For the Amish, precision doesn't come from tech, it comes from touch. And when it's time to plant large fields, they roll out one of the most clever tools in their spring routine, the horse-drawn seed sled. It might not look fancy at first glance, a simple wooden sled with a few compartments and no moving parts. But don't let the plain look fool you. This thing is packed with purpose. Each sled is pulled by a horse, gliding over the furrowed soil like a quiet boat across a calm lake. And sitting inside the sled are carefully measured piles of seed, often sorted by type, ready to be released into the waiting grooves below. But here's where it gets smart. The sled isn't just pulled, it's balanced. That's the magic of what they call a weight-floated design. See, the ground isn't the same everywhere. Some spots are soft and loose, others are dense and packed. If you plant seeds too deep, they struggle. Too shallow, and they dry out. So the Amish adjust the sled as they go, adding or removing small stones, bricks, or even bits of wood to make it ride just right. If the soil is sandy and loose, more weight gets added. That pushes the sled down a bit deeper, helping the seeds make solid contact with the earth. But if the ground is thick with clay, they take some weight off. That way the sled floats a bit higher and doesn't crush the soil or bury the seeds too deep. It's a simple idea, but it works like a charm, and it lets them plant with just the right touch every time. And get this, they make these adjustments by feel. No computers, no gadgets, just the sound of the sled, the look of the soil, and the way the horse's hooves press into the ground. If the sled drags too hard or too light, they'll stop right there in the field and shift the weight. Sometimes they'll move a brick from one side to the other. Other times they'll swap out a load of oats for beans and change how the sled is balanced. It's all done on the spot, guided by experience and trust in the land. The compartments inside the sled are also built with care. Each one holds a different seed, and they're shaped to drop just the right amount as the sled moves. Some Amish families even carve their own seed channels to match the size of each crop. Corn, peas, beans, and oats all need different spacing and depth. So the sled isn't one size fits all. It's custom tuned to the season, the field, and the crop. As the horse moves forward, the sled does its job quietly, dropping seeds into the furrows, one by one, without waste. There's no spraying, no overplanting, just neat, even lines of seed tucked into the soil with care. It's a slow process compared to a modern planter, sure, but the results? Healthier plants, better spacing, and less stress on the soil. What's also impressive is how these sleds are often made from scraps, old barn wood, fence rails, or leftover planks from another project. They're not mass-produced, they're handcrafted. And because of that, each one tells a story. The edges are worn smooth from years of use. The handles fit perfectly in the hands of the farmer who built it. Even the stones used for weight might have been picked from the very field they're working in. There's no sharp divide between machine and man here. The sled becomes part of the process. It follows the rhythm of the horse, the beat of the footsteps, the pull of the reins. And when the field is planted, there's no fuel to refill, no engine to clean, just a sled to wipe down, a horse to brush, and a job well done. And let's not forget the effect on the soil. Unlike heavy machinery, these sleds don't crush or compact the ground. They ride gently, pressing seeds just enough to connect them with the earth. That means better germination and stronger root systems. The field stays healthy and the land can breathe. Season after season, it gives back what it's been treated to, with care. In a world where speed often means everything, the Amish way stands out for its calm. Planting with a horse and a wooden sled might take longer, but it's done right. Each row is a reflection of patience. Each seed is a quiet promise. There's no rush, no shortcuts, no loud engines drowning out the sounds of nature. Just the steady glide of the sled, the creak of wood, and the whisper of seeds finding home. And when you step back and look at the field, what you see isn't just plants in rows. You see order, balance, and purpose. A whole system working without machines. Just soil, hands, and one very clever sled, proving that the best tools don't always need power, they just need wisdom. Once the seeds are gently dropped into the earth by the weight-balanced sleds, the job might seem done. But for the Amish, planting isn't just about placing seeds in a row, it's about what's already waiting beneath them. Long before the horses walk the field and the groove makers carve the soil, something special has already been prepared deep in the ground. It's not fertilizer from a bag. It's not a quick boost from a store-bought mix. It's something richer, older, and far more alive. And it starts weeks before spring even shows up. This is where compost trenches come in. A quiet, powerful system the Amish use to feed the soil long before a single seed is planted. These trenches aren't deep or wide. They don't look fancy. They're narrow cuts made directly into the field rows, dug by hand or with a simple tool, just a few inches deep. But what goes inside is what makes all the difference. Instead of dumping compost on top of the soil, the Amish tuck it in below, letting the earth slowly absorb it over time. It's like giving the land a head start before the season begins. Into these trenches go all kinds of natural materials, decomposing leaves gathered from the fall, ash swept out from winter stoves, crumbled eggshells from the kitchen, and, yes, aged manure, dry, broken down, and full of nutrients. It's not thrown in randomly, it's layered, thoughtfully. Each item brings something special. Leaves add carbon, manure brings nitrogen, ash helps balance acidity, eggshells offer calcium. Together, they create a quiet storm of nutrition. Once the trench is filled, it's covered back up with soil. There's no turning, no tilling, no big stir. Just a soft return of the earth. Then it's left alone. For days. For weeks. The magic happens slowly. The worms get to work. Microbes move in. The compost begins to break down, turning from scraps into rich, dark humus, the kind of stuff plants dream of growing in. The ground over those trenches gets warmer faster, too. As the compost breaks down, it gives off heat. Not steam or smoke, just a steady, natural warmth that spreads through the soil. That warmth helps wake up the earth early in the season. It melts frost faster. It softens cold ground. It gets the whole field ready before most people have even pulled out their shovels. When planting day finally comes, the seeds don't go straight into the compost trench. Instead, they're placed just beside it, off to the side, close enough to reach it, but not right on top. This gives the young roots a mission. They stretch out, grow down, and find their way into the compost layer on their own. It's like the plants have to earn it, and when they do, they hit the jackpot. Soft soil, deep nutrients, and a cozy spot to thrive. This method has another hidden benefit. It keeps the nutrients from washing away. When compost sits on top of the soil, rain can carry it off. But buried down in the trench, it stays put. It's protected, secure, slowly releasing goodness exactly where it's needed. That means less waste, better growth, and stronger crops. And because these trenches are made early, they give the soil time to adjust. Nothing is rushed. The compost isn't raw or too fresh by the time seeds arrive. It's mellowed, balanced, safe for roots. That's something store-bought fertilizer can't always promise. This process also connects the growing season to the rest of the year. Those leaves from autumn, the ashes from winter, even the eggs from last week's breakfast, they all come together to support the spring. Nothing is thrown away. Everything has a second use. It's a full-circle system that turns waste into life. And it's all done without big machines or modern soil tests. The Amish know their land. They can feel when the compost is ready. They know how much ash is too much. They recognize good manure by its smell, its texture, its age. These aren't guesses. They're lessons passed down by hands and seasons, not textbooks. When you walk an Amish field in spring, you'd never guess what's hidden beneath the surface. There are no piles of compost in sight, no strong smells, no plastic bags or spreaders, just neat rows of earth, quiet and clean. But underneath, it's alive with nutrients, prepared weeks ago, waiting for the roots to find it. That's the beauty of compost trenches. They're invisible, but their impact runs deep. They don't just feed the plants, they feed the soil itself. Year after year, these trenches build up the land, not wear it down. The result? Healthier crops, fewer pests, less disease, and a field that gets better with age, not worse.
It's another reminder that the Amish don't rush nature. They don't force results. They prepare early, work steadily, and trust that the land, when treated right, will return the favor.
So while others might be spreading chemical mixes in the spring, hoping for fast growth, the Amish are already ahead of the game. Their trenches were dug quietly, weeks ago, and now, as the first seeds touch the soil, the roots reach out, guided not by machines or fertilizers, but by a path of nutrition that's been waiting for them all along. With compost trenches feeding the ground from below, the next challenge is guarding what's about to grow above. Because once those seeds sprout, they're not alone out there. Bugs, beetles, and flying pests are always nearby, waiting for a snack. But the Amish don't reach for pesticides. They don't spray chemicals or put up plastic barriers. Instead, they let the plants do the talking by using scent. And not just any scent. This is farming with aroma, strategy, and a whole lot of natural brain power. Welcome to the world of scent-coded intercropping, a quiet trick some Amish farmers use to keep pests guessing and stay one step ahead. At first glance, it just looks like a regular garden. Beans next to lettuce, cabbage near carrots, but then you notice something else. Sprigs of pennyroyal tucked along the edges, bushes of tansy dotted between the rows, and leaves of sweet fern peeking up where you wouldn't expect them. These aren't accidents. They're carefully chosen guide plants, strong-smelling herbs and wild greens placed around more delicate crops like a natural shield. The goal? Confuse the bugs. See, most insects find their meals by smell. A cabbage worm sniffs out cabbage. A beetle tracks down potatoes. But when the air is filled with a mix of clashing scents, minty, bitter, floral, woody, it throws them off. The scent trail gets scrambled. It's like trying to find cookies in a bakery that's also roasting garlic and brewing coffee. The target smell is lost in the noise. This strategy works because it doesn't try to kill pests, it just misleads them. The insects fly or crawl into the garden expecting to find a certain plant, but instead they get hit with a mix of smells that don't match. Some leave, some wander, others give up. Meanwhile, the crops stay protected, not hidden, but disguised. What makes this method even more interesting is how the Amish use the wind. They don't plant these herbs just anywhere. They pay attention to how the breeze moves across the field. In the early morning, when dew hangs in the air and the wind is light, that's when the scents are strongest. So the guide plants are placed upwind from the crops, letting the aroma drift across the rows right when pests are most active. Even dew plays a role. When moisture gathers on leaves, it helps hold scent longer. That's why some Amish farmers choose plants with oily or waxy leaves, so the smell sticks and lasts. They know that the first hours of the day are when bugs begin their hunt, and that's when the garden smells the most confusing. This kind of planning doesn't come from books. It's rarely written down. Most of the time, it's passed by word of mouth. Elders teaching younger farmers where to place each plant, what works best for each crop, and how to adjust it each year based on weather or bug patterns. It's slow learning, but once it's learned, it sticks. The plants chosen aren't random either. Pennyroyal, for example, smells like sharp mint and is known to keep ants and fleas away. Tansy gives off a bitter scent that many flying bugs avoid. Sweet fern adds a woodsy layer that masks nearby vegetables. Each one plays a part in the scent puzzle, adding another piece to the invisible barrier. And it's not just about protection. Some of these aromatic plants help the soil too. They bring in good insects, improve root systems, and even release nutrients as they break down. So while they're confusing pests, they're also helping the garden grow stronger in other ways. What's clever about this is how quiet it is. There's no spraying, no traps, no shiny scarecrows, just rows of strong-smelling plants doing their job while blending in. From a distance, it all looks peaceful. But to a hungry bug, it's a maze of mixed signals and dead ends. Even the way the rows are laid out matters. The Amish often plant in blocks, not straight lines. They break up the patterns, so pests can't just follow one trail from leaf to leaf. It forces them to search harder, get confused faster, and give up sooner. And all of this is done without harming the environment or throwing the garden out of balance. This kind of intercropping takes time to plan. It means knowing the land, watching the wind, and thinking like a bug. But when it's done right, it's powerful. Crops grow with fewer bites. There's less disease. And the garden stays alive with helpful insects like bees and ladybugs that aren't scared off by poison. The beauty of scent-coated intercropping is that it turns plants into protectors. It's a team effort. Every leaf, every breeze, every drop of morning dew plays a part. And the best part? It's all natural. No machines, no sprays, just old wisdom, smart design, and a lot of patience. So while the compost trenches feed the roots, the scent guards the leaves. The plants are defended on every side, above and below. And once again, the Amish prove that farming doesn't have to be loud to be strong. Sometimes, all it takes is the right scent in the right place, and nature does the rest. After layering the fields with scents to confuse unwanted bugs and placing guide plants to guard the crops, there's still one more thing the Amish never ignore: timing. Knowing when to plant is just as important as knowing how. But while many farmers turn to gadgets and digital soil readers, the Amish take a quieter route. No screens, no meters, just ears, hands, and a small stone. This is where soil whisper tests come into play, a hands-on method for checking if the ground is truly ready to welcome new life. It starts simple. A farmer stands in the middle of a field. He picks up a small stone, nothing fancy, just a smooth one that fits in the hand. Then, from the same height every time, he drops it onto the soil. That's it. No bending, no digging, just one drop. But here's where the skill kicks in. It's not about watching the stone, it's about listening. The sound it makes tells the story. If it hits with a sharp, hollow clack, the soil underneath is too dry. It might look fine on top, but that dry sound means the lower layers haven't softened yet. Planting now would leave seeds sitting in crusted earth, struggling to draw in moisture. On the flip side, if the stone hits with a dull, lifeless thud and doesn't bounce even slightly, the ground is too wet. That kind of soil can drown a seed, smothering it before it has a chance to breathe. But there's a sweet spot, a sound that's hard to describe unless you've heard it. It's soft but clear, a gentle thud with just a tiny bounce, not too dry, not too soaked. That sound, what some Amish call the whisper, is the green light. It's the land saying, "I'm ready." This test doesn't take long. It doesn't need tools, but it needs attention, focus. The farmer has to do it when the air is still, when the wind isn't stirring up noise. They drop the same kind of stone from the same height over and over. That way they can compare. They test in different parts of the field because every spot holds moisture differently. One row might be dry while another is perfect. So they move, they listen, they wait. And what they're listening for isn't just moisture. It's texture, it's density. It's how the ground has absorbed the past few weeks of sun, frost, wind, and rain. The soil holds memory, and the sound it makes tells how it's feeling. You won't find this technique in most gardening books. It's one of those things that gets passed down on early spring mornings, father to son, neighbor to neighbor. It takes time to learn what the right sound is. There's no exact word for it. It's something you feel in your gut, in your ears, in your fingertips as you press the ground afterward, just to be sure. This method works well with other Amish planting habits. It matches up with the moon phases, with compost trench warmth, with scent-coated protection. The whisper test is like a final check, a way to make sure all the preparation, the turning, the furrowing, the composting, has come together in the right moment. And because it doesn't break the surface, it keeps the soil undisturbed. That's important. The Amish don't like poking and prodding the land more than they have to. They want to preserve the natural layers, the microbial life, the soft structure underneath. So this method fits perfectly. One drop, one sound, that's all they need. It also saves time and energy. Instead of walking with heavy meters or digging test holes across the field, the farmer just listens. If one area doesn't whisper right, they move to another. If none are ready, they wait a day or two. It's a rhythm, a back and forth with nature, not a race against it. Sometimes, when conditions change fast, after a rain, a cold snap, or a heat wave, The whisper test helps adjust plans. What looked ready yesterday might sound off today. And that's okay. The Amish don't force it. They hold off until the ground gives the right response. That patience often leads to better germination, stronger sprouts, and fewer wasted seeds. And while the test itself is quiet, its impact is big. It teaches respect for the land. It reminds farmers to pause and pay attention. It proves that good farming doesn't need expensive tools. It needs careful ears and steady hands. So while others are checking charts or digging holes, the Amish are standing still, holding a stone, listening for the whisper. It's a small sound, easy to miss. But for those who know what to hear, it's everything. It's the voice of the soil saying it's time. Once the soil has whispered its quiet approval and the seeds are ready to go in, there's still one more step the Amish take before planting. It's not about the ground this time, it's about the sky. Or more exactly, it's about the way light moves across the field. While most farmers focus only on what's underfoot, the Amish look at what's above and around. They watch the shadows. This is where shadow mapping comes in, a clever, quiet strategy that helps decide where every single crop should go. It starts in the early morning, just after sunrise. The light is low and the shadows are long. A tree branch can cast a stripe across the field. A fence post can draw a line that stretches for yards. And in the late afternoon, it happens again, but from the other direction. So Amish farmers walk, slowly, watching how the light hits the soil, seeing how shade shifts as the sun moves. This isn't guesswork, it's observation. Every object near the garden, barns, sheds, trees, even stacked wood, creates a unique shadow pattern, and those patterns change with the season. What's shaded in March might be sunny in May. So the Amish don't rely on a single moment. They watch over time, day by day, week by week. They track the way shadows crawl across the land and mark where they land. Then they use that information to plan their rows. Cool-loving plants like lettuce, spinach, and kale don't want full sun all day. If they get too hot, they grow too fast and start to bolt, sending up flowers instead of tasty leaves. So those crops go where the afternoon shade falls. That bit of coolness in the late day helps them grow slower and stay sweeter longer. On the other hand, heat-loving plants like corn, beans, and squash need all the sunlight they can get. They thrive in full exposure from morning to night. So the Amish place those in the areas where the shadows never touch, or touch only briefly. It's a natural way to give each crop what it likes without needing irrigation systems or shade cloths. This method also helps manage water. Shade reduces evaporation. So by placing leafy greens in shaded spots, the Amish keep them moist longer with less watering. In a place where every drop counts and hoses aren't used, that's a big deal. It saves time, effort, and resources. And it's not just about full plants. The Amish also consider seedling strength. Tiny sprouts don't like getting scorched by the midday sun. So early on, partial shade can protect the youngest crops until they're strong enough to handle more light. That's especially true in spring when the weather changes fast. One cool morning followed by a hot afternoon can shock a young plant. But with smart shadow placement, that risk goes down. To map these shadows, some Amish use small wooden stakes. They place them at the corners of where shadows fall during different times of day. Others scratch soft marks into the soil or draw lines in planting journals passed down through generations. It's quiet, simple, and low-tech, but very effective. Even the spacing of rows can be affected by shadow mapping. If a tall crop like corn will cast shade, they space it far enough from sun-loving crops so it doesn't interfere. Or they plant shorter crops on the east side of taller ones, so the morning sun still reaches them. Every choice is based on how the sun moves and where the shadows land. This technique also keeps the field balanced. No section gets too crowded with sun or too hidden in shade. Every row has a purpose. Every patch of soil is used in the smartest way. And when everything grows where it should, the whole garden looks healthier. There's less stress on the plants, fewer problems with disease, and better harvests all around. It's a gentle method, but a powerful one. It shows that planting isn't just about digging holes. It's about thinking ahead, about seeing how light and dark work together. The Amish don't fight nature. They work with it. They wait. They watch. They listen. And in this case, they follow the shadows. So after the soil has been tested by sound and the seeds have been prepared with care, the next step is guided by light, or more precisely, by where the light doesn't go. And in that moving pattern of shade, the Amish find the perfect spots for their crops to thrive. All without machines, all without measuring tools, just eyes on the field, patience in the process, and trust in what the land reveals. After the shadows have been studied and the perfect row placement is chosen, the garden is almost ready to begin. The soil is right, the light is right, the timing is right. But there's still one more piece that matters. A small detail that makes a big difference. It's how deep the seeds go. Too shallow and they dry out. Too deep and they never sprout. Getting the depth right is everything. But instead of using plastic tools or store-bought markers, the Amish teach something much simpler. They use thumbs. This brings us to one of the most quiet yet clever parts of Amish planting, thumb-measured seed depth training for children. In Amish gardens, planting isn't left to just the grown-ups. Kids join in, even at a young age. And one of the first lessons they learn is how to measure seed depth with their own hands, specifically with their thumbs, not just by pressing into the ground randomly, but by using their knuckles like built-in measuring tools. The first knuckle, where the thumb bends closest to the nail, is used for shallow seeds like lettuce, radishes, or spinach. These seeds don't need to go far down. Just a light press with the top of the thumb gets the job done. For deeper seeds like peas or carrots, kids use their second knuckle, the middle joint. That's about twice as deep and gives the right distance for bigger or tougher seeds to settle safely into the soil. At first, it's a fun task. Kids feel like they're helping, and they are. But over time, that thumb becomes a trained tool. They learn how to press evenly, how to feel when the soil gives just enough, how to check that every seed is sitting at the same level as the last. And the best part? It doesn't require anything except practice. No rulers, no sticks, no devices, just skin, soil, and memory. This method isn't just about simplicity, it's about consistency. When every row is planted by the same thumb, the seeds all grow at the same rate. The sprouts rise together. The plants get the same access to moisture and sunlight. It creates an even field, one where no plant is left struggling because it was buried too deep or left too high. And because kids are involved early, they learn to care for the crops they helped plant. They see the connection between their hands and the food that grows. It builds responsibility, pride, focus. But it also builds skill. By the time an Amish child is 10 or 11, they don't just know how to plant, they know how to plant well. Their thumbs are trained like tools. Their touch is steady. Their eyes can scan a row and spot any mistake. In many Amish families, thumb measuring becomes a quiet rhythm. Children line up beside adults, pressing seeds into the soil with a steady push of the knuckle. Sometimes the ground is soft. Other times, it's firmer. Either way, they adjust by feel. It's something that can't really be taught by words. It has to be learned by doing, by repeating, by getting it wrong and fixing it. This tradition also means that planting doesn't stop if a tool goes missing. There's no panic if a depth stick breaks or gets left behind. Every person brings their own measuring stick, right on their hand. It's a system that travels, works anywhere, and never wears out. And it's not just for one kind of crop. The technique can be used for almost everything. Beans, onions, herbs, squash. Each seed gets placed by thumb, adjusted by size and type. Over time, the children don't just measure by depth. They begin to understand how different seeds feel. Some are round and roll easily, some are flat and stick to the skin. These small details help guide how the seed is placed, pressed, and covered. Even the speed improves. At first, the process is slow, but with repetition, the kids plant faster, more evenly, and with less effort. What starts as a task becomes a skill. What begins with curiosity turns into precision. And all of this happens without a single screen, beeping sound, or battery. Just dirt, thumbs, seeds, and focus. In Amish communities, this thumb method is more than just a technique. It's a bridge between generations. Parents teach it to children. Older siblings help younger ones. Grandparents watch from nearby, offering tips with a nod or a quiet smile. It's not loud, it's not formal, but it's powerful. because it passes down something you can't buy in a store: a sense of place, a touch of pride, and a deep connection to the land. So while machines can measure with lasers and sensors, the Amish stick to what's always worked: fingers in the dirt and knowledge in the bones. Each thumbprint in the soil is a tiny mark of trust, a quiet message between person and earth. And when the seeds sprout in neat, even rows, the proof is there, green and growing, one thumb at a time. After children have pressed seeds into the soil with the steady guidance of their thumbs, it might seem like the planting work is nearly done. But for the Amish, even the smallest details are watched carefully, especially the ones that others might overlook. One of those details comes early in the day, before most people are even outside. It's not found in a tool or a machine. It's found on the ground, in the thin, sparkling layer that covers the surface like morning glass. That's dew. And for the Amish, dew reading is one of the quietest, smartest ways to know if the soil is ready to be planted. It happens before breakfast, when the air is still and the light is soft. The grass glistens, the soil sparkles, everything is damp with a clean sheet of dew. But while most people might walk past it without a second thought, Amish farmers stop and study it, because how long that dew sticks around can tell a lot about the ground underneath. Here's the idea. Dew that disappears early means the soil is likely healthy, loose, balanced, and able to breathe. But if that dew hangs around too long, past a certain hour, usually after 8 a.m., it's a sign that something might be off. The soil could be too compact, holding too much water near the surface, or it might not be draining well, leaving moisture trapped where it shouldn't be. Either way, it means waiting before planting or making adjustments first. The Amish use this method to figure out if their soil is in balance without needing any fancy sensors or probes. They don't need to take samples back to a lab. They don't need electronic moisture meters. They just need a clear morning and a sharp eye. This test is all about observation. Dew is fragile. It vanishes in the sun. But how fast it fades depends on the ground. On healthy, open soil, dew lifts gently and early. The warmth from the sun gets inside the ground quickly, and the moisture disappears as it should. But if the soil is packed down too tight, that warmth can't go deep. The surface stays cold. The dew just sits there. And when that happens, it's a red flag. Long-lasting dew can also be a sign of mold risk. That extra moisture, trapped in cool patches, creates the kind of damp conditions where fungi and rot like to grow. So when Amish farmers see this, they don't ignore it. They take action. One solution is spreading a light layer of wood ash. The ash helps soak up extra moisture and adjust the soil's chemistry. It's simple, but it works, and it fits perfectly with the Amish way of keeping everything natural. This kind of dew reading doesn't happen just once. It's done across several days, because soil changes fast in spring. Rain, sun, wind, each one shifts the balance. By watching how the dew behaves over time, the Amish learn what's really happening under the surface, and they plan their planting around it. Sometimes one part of a field dries early, while another part stays wet. That tells them how to place their crops. Drier zones get planted first. Wetter ones might wait a few more days, or get a boost with ash or compost to help them catch up. It's a flexible, gentle system. No rushing, no guessing. Just steady steps led by what the land is saying. And dew doesn't just sit on the soil, it clings to plants too. Amish farmers sometimes check how quickly dew leaves the leaves of nearby grasses or weeds. If the tops dry before the roots do, it shows that air is moving well and sunlight is reaching the ground properly. But if plants stay soaked and heavy all morning, it can mean the area is too shaded or blocked, maybe by a wall, a tree, or even another crop planted too close last year. Every drop of dew is like a signal, a message, not loud, not flashy, but full of meaning for those who take the time to read it. This technique also fits well with other Amish planting habits. It works alongside the soil whisper tests, the thumb depth method, and shadow mapping. Together, they create a full picture. One test checks how the ground sounds. Another checks how it feels. This one checks how it breathes. Dew reading is also helpful after seeds go in. It lets farmers know if they need to adjust spacing, switch crops, or even plan for early harvest in mold-prone spots. It keeps them one step ahead, not with machines but with quiet awareness. The best part? It costs nothing. It doesn't leave a footprint. It doesn't require batteries, manuals, or updates. It just takes presence. A moment in the morning, a few steps through the field, and a willingness to learn from what nature offers. So while others might rush into planting just because the calendar says it's time, the Amish wait. They watch the dew, they feel the air, they check the earth, and only when all the signs are right, when the dew lifts softly, the soil whispers back, and the shadows have shown their pattern, do they begin to plant. It's slow, it's simple, and it's deeply in tune with the land. Because sometimes all it takes to know if the earth is ready is to watch how it lets go of a single drop of water. No machines, no wires, no noise, just earth, sky, hands, and time. That's how the Amish plant their spring crops, by listening to the land, trusting their senses, and passing down techniques so old they feel like secrets whispered through the soil. From turning the ground by moonlight to reading dew like a silent message from nature. From scoring furrows with handmade wood to adjusting seed sleds by the feel of the field. Every step is deliberate. Every motion is earned. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is wasted. Kids learn with their thumbs. Elders guide with their silence. And all of it, every trench, every shadow, every drop of morning moisture, becomes part of a system so quietly brilliant it doesn't need to brag. The Amish don't plant for speed. They plant for harmony. With nature, with tradition, and with the rhythm of the world beneath their boots. If this glimpse into their planting season left you inspired, or thinking twice about the role of patience and wisdom in a fast-paced world, drop a comment below and tell us what part stood out the most. Maybe it's the moon, maybe it's the thumb, or maybe, just maybe, it's the silence between the steps. And if you want more stories like this, real-life simplicity, old-world knowledge, and modern-day lessons from the people who live it daily, hit that subscribe button and stay rooted with us. The soil always has more to say.